Welcome to The Scroll for Monday, February 17th. I'm Julia Gorman. The Scroll is a fast-paced, condensed version of the most impactful news of the day that fits right into your schedule here on 13 Plus. Let's get into it. 19 people were hurt Monday when a Delta Airlines plane flipped upon arrival at Toronto's Pearson Airport. 3 are in critical condition as of Monday evening. The airport confirmed on X that an incident happened with the Delta flight from Minneapolis. All 80 passengers and crew were thankfully accounted for. It's too early at this point to say what caused that plane to flip. You see it here, just completely upside down. This is at least the 4th major aviation mishap in North America in the past month. Back here at home, a man from Rockford is in the Kent County Jail accused of a crime that happened in Pennsylvania. Investigators say 21-year-old Harrison Jones traveled to Philadelphia, or a Philadelphia suburb rather, and set a home on fire where the partner of his ex-girlfriend lives. The fire happened the morning of Monday, February 10th, a week ago. 6 people were taken to the hospital. On February 12th, the Kent County Sheriff's Office executed a search warrant here in Michigan, in Rockford, finding Jones with burns on his arms and lock-picking devices. Jones faces 6 counts of attempted homicide, arson, and other charges. In a press conference, authorities said they believe he set the fire with, quote, murderous intentions.
It is clear to us that Mr. Jones had murderous intentions. That evening, 6 people were residing and sleeping in that residence when the house was lit on fire. He drove over 730 miles, 11 hours, to do what he did, and then drove directly back home. It's a miracle they all survived.
Now, 2 dogs did die in that fire. According to police, Jones denied ever being in Pennsylvania. However, they say they have footage of him leaving a gas station an hour away from the home before the fire. As of Monday, he's in custody here in Kent County, awaiting extradition to Pennsylvania. 13 on Your Side's Jeremiah Brown worked on this story all day. He'll join me at the end of this episode of The Scroll for a closer look at this big story. Jets Pizza at Leonard and Fuller has heavy smoke damage after a fire Monday morning. It started around 10 o'clock. Witnesses say firefighters got to the scene before they even noticed the fire and had it under control within 20 minutes. Employees at a nearby store say they smelled the smoke. Police say no one was hurt. It does appear the fire started in a water heater. On this President's Day, crowds gathered around West Michigan to protest against things President Donald Trump has done. Braving the cold temperatures, protests were held in Grand Rapids and also in Muskegon. People spoke out against the reported access of billionaire Elon Musk and his allies to sensitive federal systems and reinforced America has a president, not a king.
This feels horribly similar to the way it felt then. People are going to die in this situation because of lack of health care and affordable medicines and housing and food.
Authorities say a man is dead and a teenager is in custody after a shooting Sunday night in Byron Township. The victim, 36-year-old Byron Township man Jeffrey Gamble, died after being shot at the Camelot Manor mobile home community. We don't know the identity of the suspect, but the 18-year-old is expected to be charged Tuesday. Now, motive isn't known yet, but authorities say the men knew each other. This was an isolated incident. There were no other suspects. Listening sessions ended Monday surrounding plans to redevelop the waterfront in Muskegon. As a part of this project, the city would acquire property along the south branch of the Muskegon River and along Muskegon Lake. Fisherman's Landing Campground would also be changed into a port.
From the community and people that understand what's going on, all positive, very positive. There's a few people that don't understand the big picture, but once they understand the big picture, they come on board.
The primary concerns that we've been hearing are from folks who use the campground, which is something that we were aware of and expecting. The Fisherman's Landing Campground is a unique campground.
Now, project leaders will present their findings and plan to city commissioners who will then vote on all that. If you missed one of those listening sessions and you have thoughts that you'd really like to share, you should reach out to city commissioners. A date for that vote has not been set yet, but organizers say it could happen in the next few weeks. A traffic alert to keep in mind: 28th Street in Wyoming is scheduled to close from Michael to Burlingame on Friday and Saturday. Crews will be putting in a pedestrian bridge near Hook Avenue. There are already lane closures in place as crews prepare for that bridge. City officials say there will be lane closures throughout March for the project. It is expected to wrap up in June. City Beach parking passes are now available for everyone in Muskegon from May 15th to September 15th. You do need a pass to visit Pere Marquette Beach and also several other parks and beaches in the area. Muskegon residents can get 2 passes for the season for free. They can pick those up at the police station or order them online. Now, if you don't live in Muskegon, a season pass is $40. There's also daily passes available. The price did go up for this summer, but they did add free parking on Wednesdays. And another big story this week, we are just getting hit with some really chilly temperatures, even for us here in Michigan. I'm joined by meteorologist Colton Woods. Colton, these cold temps are going to continue for at least a couple of days.
Yeah, that's right, Julia. Tonight, definitely going to get cold, probably close to 0 degrees for a low tonight. So very cold temperatures are ahead of us by daybreak tomorrow, sitting right around 3 degrees, at least here in Grand Rapids, with some clearing, but along the lakeshore, that lake effect snow will likely continue. So time that out hour by hour. This is at 6 a.m. tomorrow. You can see the lake effect snow continuing from Ludington, Muskegon, Holland to South Haven. So the morning commute tomorrow probably going to be on the rough side along the lakeshore. And then, Julia, this spreads further inland, so Grand Rapids probably still seeing some snow at least during the afternoon hours tomorrow. And then by the time we get to 10 p.m., it slowly starts to wrap up, turns more into snow flurries rather than actual some light to moderate snow. Snowfall amounts generally 1 to 3, possibly isolated amounts of 4 inches through tomorrow evening, but further inland toward Grand Rapids, probably less than an inch of snow is expected through that time period. Your 13-hour side 7-day forecast shows we will contend with lake effect snow into Tuesday and Wednesday, turning more in the way of snow flurries though Wednesday into Thursday, and then gradual warming trend, and will be warm, quote unquote, by next Sunday of 32 degrees.
Yeah, and 36 on Monday. I'm excited for that.
Little
And
heat wave.
you talked on this Monday too about just this February compared to last February. Can you give me just a couple key points there? It was a very different February last year.
Yes, last February we actually had the warmest February on record, and we hit 73 degrees in the end of last February, and actually saw some tornadoes as well. Very different though compared to this February.
Yeah, I remember moving here and thinking, oh, everyone warned me about Michigan and it doesn't feel that bad. And now this winter has definitely been a more typical, winter, especially you grew up here, and this is more what it's like every year.
Last year was definitely an anomaly. This year a lot more typical, if not even slightly cooler than usual.
All right, Colton, thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
Of course. And
I'm joined now by 13 on Your Side's Jeremiah Brown. Jeremiah, you were on one of the probably the biggest story that we reported on today, and that was about this alleged situation where this man, we're learning, from authorities, went to this home and allegedly set that home on fire, and that's where the partner of his ex-partner lived. Obviously, this is all according to authorities. We're still learning a lot of information, but as far as how they were able to find this suspect, that's something I didn't really get into earlier on. Can you kind of walk us through some of those details?
Yeah, it's actually quite impressive police work. The only piece of evidence they really had to work off of at the beginning was just that grainy surveillance footage we saw of that one, that person getting into that sedan, which they later identified as a Volkswagen model, and they had really only that to go off of, and using that footage along with tracking just footage from different intersections, different streets, were able to kind of track that vehicle until that vehicle actually got to an intersection with a camera that was able to read license plates.
Right.
And that's how they were able to pinpoint that license plate to a house in Rockford, and that's ultimately how police were able to identify Harrison Jones as a suspect. And then from there, they asked for assistance from Kent County Sheriff's Office. They were able to act on that warrant, and they were able to search that home, find that vehicle, along with finding those other items that we talked about in the story, which is a pretty wild story.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing when you're working on a crime that happened, right here in the Grand Rapids area, but the fact that this spanned hundreds of miles away, makes that case obviously so much more complex, but technology really was the key here in being able to track down that suspect. As far as kind of what's next in this case, obviously this was a lot of details to break down today, but the situation's far from over. What's kind of next?
Yeah, well, we're looking into any word on extradition. We have been told that he is expected to be extradited to Pennsylvania, the Kent County Sheriff's Office. Their deputies are working with their Pennsylvania counterparts in this case, and like we said, he's facing quite a few charges in that state. And like they said in the press conference earlier today, the maximum penalty he could face for all of those is much more than his lifespan.
And as far as just that video, I know we showed it earlier on in the episode, but I know you watched that video over and over again, putting your story together. Kind of describe that scene. Obviously, we weren't there because it didn't happen here in Michigan, but walk me through what that video kind of looked like.
Yeah, well, with these videos, I always appreciate, being able to, even for a few seconds, just see what first responders see when they show up to a scene. Obviously, that video you saw, the home is engulfed in flames, and it was very kind of scary, and
It was just a lot.
yeah, it was just a lot to see. You see this person, this figure, kind of shadowy figure, just kind of running from this home. They're able to pinpoint the smoke that's rising from the house, and then almost look like an explosion went off. And we know from the police department in Pennsylvania that the mom kind of woke up and she saw someone inside the house. Someone was actually walking down the stairs, and she thought it was one of her adult sons that was in the house, so she just kind of went back to sleep. And then she discovered that the bottom floor of the house was on fire. We know that some of the people in the house actually had to jump out of the windows to get out. Fortunately, and like they said, it's a miracle that they all survived, and we're certainly glad to see that they're all out of the hospital recovering, but still it's a very tragic situation. And they were able to kind of piece together that they believe that Harrison Jones was the person who was inside that house.
Yeah, certainly thankful that all of those people are going to be okay, at least physically. So, all right, well, we know that you'll continue to follow this story, and if you'd like even more detail, you can look at Jeremiah's web story and his full story up on our website right now, 13onYourSide.com. Jeremiah, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And I always like to wrap up every episode with something fun or cool happening in our community. A new luxury pet hotel is going to be built at the site of the TGI Fridays by the Woodland Mall. Take a look. We've got sort of some mock-up pictures. The hotel is part of a chain called Canine Resorts, which specializes in dog boarding and daycare services. The owners say they wanted a location close to the airport for people flying in and out of Grand Rapids. Of course, that makes a lot of sense if you're going to be traveling. The old TGI Fridays will be remodeled into this new venture rather than demolished. Now, this is very early news. We don't yet have any details for you on an opening date, but based on these pictures, yeah, I mean, you could have your dog stay here, or I think I would even stay there. It looks so fancy. So, of course, I know we're all itching for more details on that. As soon as we have them, we will bring them to you. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of The Scroll. The Scroll airs on 13 Plus on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays after our evening newscasts. You can also catch a recap of all the Scroll episodes from the week over the weekend, all rolled into one big breakdown. 13 Plus is totally free on Roku, Fire, and Apple TV. You can watch The Scroll whenever it works for you. For now, I'm Julia Gorman. Have an awesome day.